The following is the agenda for the regular Borough Council meeting of the Borough of Pompton Lakes. Mayor and Council, Municipal Corporation, and the County of Passaic. The meeting will begin at 7:30 p.m. on September 25th, 2024, in the Municipal Building, 25 Lennox Avenue, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, 07442. Consistent with the Public Meetings Act, the meeting will be open for public comments and shall be in accordance with the terms and conditions of the borough's municipal code and bylaws.
Please stand for a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bless this mayor and council as they deliberate for the best of Pompton Lakes. Thank you. In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board in the municipal buildings, mailed to all, requested and paid for same, and published in the Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Deloney.
Excused.
Councilman Cruz.
Here.
Councilwoman Kent.
Here.
Councilwoman Kilburg.
Here.
Councilwoman Colladori.
Here.
And Councilman Bell.
Excused.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney, David Wittenberg, and our Borough Administrator, Michael Corral.
Okay, thank you. Under presentation, I have a nice presentation to present to Greg and Song Smith on their dedication to this community and town for so long for the well-loved and beloved ice cream station. Anybody from Pompton Lakes knows exactly what I'm talking about, and people from outside Pompton Lakes know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's one of my honors to really do that for you guys, because you've given so much back to the community, what you've done. Most people don't realize they do a lot of donations for a lot of our town programs from the ice cream station when they had it. Quietly, they gave us what we needed to do our events, either it's ice cream or it's donations or I remember back in the day, they used to give the coupons for the little ice cream cones from the kids from the Little League and baseball. So with that, if both of you or whoever you want to come up, we'll read your citation. Can't take anything. No. Okay, so we have a certificate of recognition presented to Greg and Song Smith, the ice cream station, in recognition of your achievements, contributions, and dedication to the borough of Pompton Lakes. May the years ahead be filled with new adventures and a happy adventure. Signed by myself, Mayor, on September 25th, 2024. I should also mention that Greg was also a member of our health board for how long?
21 years.
21 years on our health board, helping us here in town. So we thank you for everything you've done in town. Like I said, I'm sure you're in good hands. We'll have a new station there, but people are going to miss you greatly. If you want to say anything, say anything you want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take your hand.
Best of luck. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Don't miss me on the photo. I'm not having a good
Remember me?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should I have mentioned that? No. Okay, with that, I have an Eagle Scout presentation. If you'd like to come on up, you can come to the podium.
Hello everyone, my name is Christopher Wild and I'm here to present my Eagle project. So a little bit about myself. My name is Christopher Wild. I'm just entering my junior year at Butler High School. I'm a Life Scout in Bloomingdale Troop 86. I'm also on the track team and training to become a private pilot. So my Eagle project is bog bridging in Pompton Aquatic Park, and what bog bridging is basically is it's 4 4x4s put together on each side for the base, and then 3 2x8s running across to create a sort of boardwalk for people to walk across. And in total, I'm doing 14 sections of boardwalk on the yellow trail. And the trail needs this because it is frequently overgrown with weeds and other plants in the summer months. And it's also damaged by flooding whenever we have big storms. So the bridging will make it easier for people to cross and make it less dangerous and less damaged by the flooding. My project has already been approved by the Northern New Jersey Council Advancement Committee. So on the BSA side of things, it's already all approved. After this presentation tonight, I plan to begin work sometime in October or November when it's a little cooler out and the bugs have kind of gone away, but the ground still isn't frozen yet. I plan on getting help from members of my troop as well as some of my friends from school who need service hours for things like National Honor Society or Student Council. My project is mostly self-funded, but I will be accepting donations from family as well as discounts from realtors. And there's also another section of bog bridging in the trail who was done by another Eagle Scout, and my beneficiary, Mrs. Venon, has been very happy with how that's turned out, and she's asked me to basically replicate it on another section of the trail. Does anyone have any questions?
First of all, you have any more, or that's?
No, I just have some pictures and that.
All right, it's a very good presentation. You did a great job with that. I know just for the council's sake that the Trail Committee has recommended this to happen. They would like to see this move forward. And I think he spoke with our administrator, right, Mike? He spoke with you. So we see no real issue with the project. I'm a big supporter of the Boy Scouts, the Eagle Scouts. You guys do a lot of great projects for us in here in town that are still around. So we welcome any work we can get from the Eagle Scouts. We're always pleased with the outcome. So does the council have any concerns, questions?
Thank you.
No?
Let us know when, because I'm going to be down there with a hammer or whatever you need, okay?
Okay, so you're approved. You're good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome. Okay, can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
So moved.
Councilman Cruz?
Second.
Councilwoman Kilburg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address?
What's going on?
Please step up.
Take care.
Helene Zablocki, 6 Butler Street. Congratulations to Greg and Song. They've been a fixture in Pompton Lakes. They represent all that's best in Pompton Lakes. And Greg was my student once upon a time. True. And congratulations to our new Eagle Scout. A lot of work goes into that. Once again, the Republican candidates refused to participate in a nonpartisan candidates forum. And why? Because people already know you? Is that what you think this fundamental part of voter engagement is? A popularity contest? And you're the most popular? Are you afraid to answer substantive questions? Pompton Lakes has had one ruling party for decades, but you know what happens when things don't change. You get stale and stagnant, but don't mess with success, right? Last fall, someone told me that an unaffiliated candidate didn't have to file financial reports with the Board of Elections. I didn't know that. If we had had a public forum, we all might have heard that and other interesting things. I have an idea of what mailings and lawn signs cost, but I am curious about how much a billboard cost and who funded that. I know about those election reports because I filed a lot of them for several Democratic campaigns, including Randy Hinton. Randy has devoted an extraordinary amount of time and expertise to Pompton Lakes, to say nothing of his sitting through these meetings for years. That should qualify him for sainthood. But whether or not he runs as a Democrat or as a Republican, his talents and skills are the same, And that's the point. By refusing to engage with the voters, you silence all voices. Is that the point? You are not representing Pompton Lakes. You're protecting yourselves. That's not a healthy democracy. You exist in an echo chamber, and this governing body will never be as good as some of you think you are. Your choice to remain closed, insulated, exclusive is arrogant and shameful. Pompton Lakes deserves better.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public would like to address? Please step up. She hasn't.
Hi, I'm Judith Broderick. I live at 21 Albert Street, Pompton Lakes. It's been a while since I've been here, but things haven't changed too much. Those signs are terrible, the new ones, with half the print off of them. And you go to my next town where I was raised, Riverdale. They have beautiful signs and beautiful posters.
I'm sorry, are we talking about the street signs?
Street signs.
Okay.
I'm sorry, street signs. And went down Colfax Avenue today looking for a street. I've only lived here 52 years. I still have not memorized those streets. So I would really appreciate, and I think the town, I know maybe it's not in our budget, but the new green signs that are put up here and there are all faded. I don't think that will work. I think somebody should look into Riverdale. Maybe we can't afford that much, but make something a little nicer for our community and the people that are coming into our community or drive through our community, that they know where they are and how to get to where they're going. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Daniel Tashkin, 52 and a half Howard Street. So kind of dovetailing on what Elaine was talking about, I think it is important that the public has an opportunity to hear from the people that they're potentially going to be voting on, the people who are ultimately going to be running the town that they live in. And so I think that the opportunity to, have to stand in front of a nonpartisan group and answer questions is a very important opportunity that we should have engaged in. Like me personally, super nervous talking in front of people, but I accepted because I thought it was important, even though I thought I was going to end up looking like a fool. So I just want to hear from Councilman Cruz and Councilwoman Kilberg, like, why didn't you accept? Just want to hear it from you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address?
Randy Hinton, 443 Montclair Avenue. I just had a question on Resolution 24-376.
Which one?
That was it.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the numbers.
24-376. Next to
376.
last on the
Okay.
resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Paul Bowlby, 120 Romaine Ave. Just a question. If a open forum debate, whatever you want to call it, was going to be held, who would be the sponsor of the, whatever you want to call it?
Debate, yep.
Open session for questions.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Okay, seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So motion.
Councilman Cruz, Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, I'm going to group all your questions together about the debate. The debate is a personal decision among the candidates. It has nothing to do with this board or this group here, so I cannot speak for them or answer for them. If you have a concern or question, I would reach out to them directly, either through email or try to catch them in person and ask them why. Paul, you asked who would run it. In the past, it's been the League of Women Voters that supposedly puts this together. We've had, going back, we've had numerous ones. Some years we haven't, but for the most part, we've had numerous ones. Judith, great point you brought up. Thank you so much. We are replacing all our street signs. We're in the process of doing that right now. With a beautiful red sign with the car. Is it red, Mike? red signs with a cardinal on it. And so all the streets will be, and we got the idea actually from Riverdale. So I can't really go back and forth, but it'll be bigger letters and it'll be much nicer and all the streets will have them on there. So we are in the process. Mike, when are we starting that?
Next weekend.
We are starting next weekend. Look at that. See how good we are. We finally answered one question we got right. So yes, we'll be starting that. Okay, thank you for that. We'll get the resolution question when the resolution, we can talk about it now. Overpaying of tree removal fee.
Resident paid the incorrect fee for a tree removal, so according to state statute, it must be refunded via resolution.
Did you hear that? Okay. Okay. Approval of minutes. Motion to approve the following minutes. Regular meeting minutes, September 11th, 2024. Closed session meeting minutes, September 11th, 2024. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilwoman Kilberg,
Second?
Councilwoman Kent, was that Kent? Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Bills and claims as listed below. Can I have a motion?
Motion?
Second. Councilwoman Kent, Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Consent agenda, does anybody need anything removed?
24,370.
24,370.
370?
Okay, anybody else? Okay, let's go ahead.
Whereas the mayor and the borough council of Borough of Compton Lakes have reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Compton Lakes does desire to remove resolutions for individual actions from that agenda now, therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolution 24,368 through 24,377, with removal of 24,370.
Motion to approve resolutions.
Motion.
Councilwoman Polidori?
Second?
Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Resolution 24,370.
Authorizing access agreement between the Borough of Compton Lakes and the Ram Mole Group.
Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. This resolution memorializes a right of entry agreement. A subcontractor, the Ramble Group, a subcontractor of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, is conducting water sampling along the stretches of the Wanacue River near the Starbucks. So they need access to one of our parcels, Block 100, Lot 6, to conduct this testing. And just as a formality and for liability purposes, rather, we do need an access agreement with this company. Again, just for liability purposes.
Okay, thank you. Good. Okay, motion 24,370. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. Councilwoman Polidori, Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ordinances, first reading.
Mayor,
I'm sorry, second.
I have to recuse myself from one of the resolutions,
Which one?
24,373. I have to recuse my vote.
Okay, can you note that?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I brought
Okay.
it late, sir.
Okay, ordinance for first reading will be presented on October 9th. Ordinance 24-38, an ordinance amending Chapter 7 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Compton Lakes and amending the fee for student parking permits in the Pond Hole parking lot.
Motion to approve ordinance 2438 for introduction.
Motion.
Councilwoman Polidori,
Second?
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor?
Discussion? Can we have some discussion?
Sure. Well, the first reading, can we have discussion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, what's your question?
I just want to have just a general explanation of it.
Of course, thank you, Councilwoman. So this governing body executed a contract with Park Link, who is our new mobile parking permit software company. And after the police department and I met with this company, it came to our attention that the way that the fee structure incorporated into the borough code is right now, as a trimester basis, doesn't work for this, or any other permit company that has mobile permitting. So in consultation with the police department, we're proposing to amend the code to enact a monthly fee for the school parking.
whereas the school students would have to pay monthly. However, the way that the software is written is that it's an automatic renewal. So once you sign up for the first time and you essentially give permission for the automatic renewal, the student or the parent would never have to touch it again for the whole school year. It would auto-renew every month until that user decides to cancel. So again, and there's no increased cost here. We broke the fee down, divided it by 3, and, that's the new monthly fee.
Right, so it's the same fees that we're
It's the
giving,
same
right?
fee.
All right, so it's still the same fee, the frequency is changing, it's auto-renew, but it's only going to auto-renew for the same period of time that the trimester would. It's not going to roll into an annual thing, so you're not being billed automatically for months that they're not using the parking spots, right?
You would have to cancel if you didn't want to be renewed. However, when you sign up, you can set how long you'd like that renewal
Are we
period
going
to
to
be.
communicate that so that students know that in June, they don't need to pay for July and August? And then I guess after that, it's first come, first served, so it's going to be based on whether or not you reactivate the app?
Absolutely. We crafted a letter to the Board of Ed. We've yet to send it because we're still working out this ordinance perhaps and some other things. But we will be communicating with the board, sending them a sample letter to send to all the students and parents.
Making sure everyone understands that
Yep.
it should only be for 10 months.
Right.
How many spots is that?
I believe that we give out 32 spots for the students.
So 32 spots. So the issue that we've run into, we've been lax because of all the work that's been going on in Pond Hall. So we have a lot of students not paying right now that should be paying. We don't usually go over the 30 mark usually, but I think at the last count, we only had 8 permits being sold at this moment, but we have well more than that many cars parking there. So we're going to give them warnings, we're going to give them notices, we're going to tell them, look, you got to get a permit, we're going to go through all those steps, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to get a permit if they want to park there, which has always been, that's nothing changed.
Is that only up to the 30? So if they can renew it through the app, how does it know when to stop?
The system has a cap of 32
Okay,
spots. So
okay.
at one given time, there cannot be more than 32 purchases.
Okay.
And it's on a first come, first served basis, as it always has been.
And for the newer council, years ago, there was an arrangement made when they took down, if people remember, there was an old jungle gym in the back. They took down that jungle gym, and the idea was they were supposed to put some student parking back there. They changed their mind at the last minute and made it teacher parking. And that caused us some problems because they had promised us they would put some student parking back there. So unfortunately, they're going to have to find some spaces on their property also to fit the cars. Unfortunately, we're a 3-mile square town. I think every kid drives to the high school. So, and my own children did it themselves. So, it's just a problem that we'll work with. But in the last couple of years, we've stayed below the 30 number on the permits.
Is that actually something that's being looked at now? They are looking for additional spots within the school parking?
I've had conversations with the superintendent. They're going to look at some ideas to get some more, if they need them. If it's too many in our spots, then they'll have to look and get more, because we can't add more in our spots right now.
Would they be able to go above the 30? So if someone just wanted to park all day, they would just pay through the app on a daily basis?
A regular visitor?
Well, I mean, if.
Yes, a student could pay the regular price if they wanted to, yes.
Okay.
Correct. Theoretically, a student could pay on Park Mobile,
Mhm.
the new mobile parking app for daily parking.
Yes.
They could pay to park there daily, yes.
Yes, they could do
Okay.
that.
And that's really not something we can stop.
No, we can't.
I mean, it's open to the public.
But it's gonna cost them more money, obviously.
Right.
Well, so I don't understand
It's
that
gonna
then.
cost more than
The
that.
permit spots, if they're paying for the monthly permit, is there a certain point of the day where they have to remove their car so other commuters?
It's 4 o'clock, I think. No, it's 4 o'clock.
And that's monitored by a certain
It'll
license
be
plate
within-
tagged to a certain.
Yeah.
The police department would have all the license plates within this new park link.
Okay.
And they'd be able to monitor that moving forward. Right now, it's all done by paper, so it's a little difficult in real time, to monitor that situation.
And then after 3, someone else, a shopper or a resident or someone could use just the Park Mobile zone and pay the regular.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the other thing to talk about with that, the other agreement that was worked out with the school for kids who are playing sports, they're going to make spots after 3 o'clock on the high school parking lot for any kids that parked in the pond hole to move their cars to the high school so they can stay past 4 o'clock if they have an away game.
Is there a way to designate,
Yeah, it is.
So that's good that they have a resolution.
can you designate those spots specifically for students identified as that, so that they don't have to remember to move their car like 2 spots over if this is a sport spot and this isn't a sport spot?
Well, our spots are, first, there's no identified spots. The school, whatever they want to do is on their own property. We can't.
Well, the sports spots are gonna be on the school.
On the
On the
school,
school
yeah,
side.
they have to move to
They're
the high
just gonna
school.
park
They have
them
to move
out.
them
Yeah,
out,
they have
yes.
to move them before, yeah.
'Cause
Or
then-
pay,
Or pay.
Or pay.
Or pay, yeah.
or pay Park Mobile.
And just one more point, it's significantly cheaper for the student to buy the permit. I believe this governing body adopted the amended Pontold parking regulations in 2023, delineating that the fee was $1 per hour, I believe. So this is $15 per month. So it's definitely an incentive for the student.
Yeah.
Will you have something in place, Michael, for next week's Board of Ed meeting? Because I'm assuming they're gonna have a lot of questions.
Most likely in October, most likely mid-October, we would be ready.
But this has already been communicated as far as this change already to the Board of Education.
Over the phone, we have to send them the official letter.
Okay.
And we've had some meetings with the superintendent.
But nothing for the
years ago.
public yet, right? Nothing at all? Okay,
Yeah, nothing going on at this moment, yes.
okay. So
This
already-
ordinance is part of many steps to set it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot, did I get motions there, Liz?
Yeah.
I did,
Yeah,
right?
you had motions and
Okay.
seconds.
Now I have to do a roll call.
Yeah, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kilmer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori,
Yes.
Councilman Cruz,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kane.
Yes.
Ordinance for second reading, final adoption, that these ordinances have been advertised and posted on the municipal bulletin board. Ordinance 2436, an ordinance amending chapter 10 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Compton Lakes and changing the licensing date to dog and cat licenses for late fires.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 24-36.
Motion?
Councilwoman Kemp?
Second.
Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone would like to address just this ordinance? Lisa?
Randy Hinton, 443 Montclair Avenue. I read the full ordinance and the trends, and changing the date, definitely in agreement with that. That was explained pretty much. But I noticed in section 2, line 5, potentially dangerous dogs, as hereafter defined, $500. Is that $500 per year for the license fee? Now, I brought this up with Councilman Cruz and Councilwoman Polidori, and they gave me their best explanation for it. But I was still a little curious as to
I don't
how
know
do
the
you
answer to
define
that.
potentially
Yeah.
dangerous
You know the answer
dogs?
to that. Yeah.
Thank you. So this does delineate, and this specific section of the code was amended in 2018 by the governing body to enact a $500 fee. And the fee's at the sole discretion of the animal control officer. Essentially, it's if a dog seriously injures another dog or human, that the animal control officer has the jurisdiction to charge an increased fee for the renewal of the license in January,
At their discretion.
at their discretion.
So that
And
answers
that's
your question.
per year
Yes,
for the rest of the dog's life?
yes.
That sounds a little steep to me, but
And I will note, we don't have any records at this time of any charge of this nature.
So we have no records of it. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if your dog went after a human or another animal, we have to be aware of that and do something about it. So I support that. I mean, I do support that.
I mean, dogs fight sometimes.
They do, but you gotta
Dogs
control your
fight
own dog.
sometimes, all dogs. But it says potentially dangerous, and that's by the,
Animal control officer, yes.
okay.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address just this ordinance? Okay, seeing no one, motion to close the public session for ordinance 24-36.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Cruz, Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Continuation
Against?
of that.
Motion to approve ordinance 24-36 for final adoption.
Yes. No. I want discussion.
Oh.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask for it anyway, but Randy addressed some of the points.
2436 we're talking?
I had a follow-up question on that because it's not clear the way it's written. It seems like it runs into just general licensing fees. It doesn't look like there's a stipulation saying in the event that there's an incident or that the dog is deemed hazardous, and that's at, the discretion of the animal control officer, and then it goes on in perpetuity. I don't really think that that's worded right.
Yes,
It seems
thank
like
you.
it can be kind of put in place whenever, right?
Right, so I think the way that the ordinance was written didn't necessarily have the best intentions here, because later in the code, it does define what a dangerous dog is. If you go actually on the Borough Code and go through this chapter, I think what they did was instead of just listing the one change that we wanted, which was the amended due date of March 15th, they listed the whole code. And not the whole code is being amended. This is all pre-existing. The only change is the March 15th deadline. So it happened to be in here. So it definitely is defined. It's just, it happens to be like 2 pages after this. So
It defines an incident that would be what would give reason to determine that a dog is deemed
Yes.
dangerous. So it's not by breed, it's by incident.
No, it's defined as why the animal control officer can charge that. I can provide that as a follow-up to the governing body.
So right now, we're only voting on the change of date, really?
Correct.
Okay, so we're just voting on the change of date.
Yeah, can we look into that just to make sure that it does cover what it needs to cover?
Thank you. I'll send an email.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Motion to approve ordinance 24-36 for final adoption.
Motion.
Councilwoman Polidori, Councilman Cruz, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kilmer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori,
Yes.
Councilman Cruz,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-37, an ordinance amending and supplementing the salary ranges of the employees of the Borough of Compton Lakes and the County of Passaic and the State of New Jersey.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 24-37.
So moved.
Councilwoman Kilberg.
Second?
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address 24-37? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public comments on ordinance 24-37?
So moved.
Councilman Cruz, Councilwoman Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 24-37 for final adoption.
Motion.
Councilwoman Polidori,
Second?
Councilwoman Kilberg, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kilmer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori,
Yes.
Councilman Cruz,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, under my report, I had a couple meetings in the last 2 weeks. We had a Public Works Committee meeting to discuss changes in our Public Works hierarchy system. I had a meeting with with a proposed new grant writer, along with our administrator. We met with some of the people that would be making some decisions on the NDEP permitting issues we're having behind the hardware store. We had a meeting, a personnel meeting. I attended a county organizational meeting Monday with a bunch of the mayors from county. Nice to talk to some of the mayors and local mayors to see what they're going through and what they're dealing with. A lot of similar issues that we're having. I attended, our Senator Joe Panaccio had an event Tuesday. I attended that event along with Councilwoman Kent. It was nice to meet some of the newer mayors that are in our new district. We were rezoned into a different district. So it's a lot of mayors from Morris County. A lot of them I don't really get to talk to too much or see, so it was nice to sit down and talk with them. And again, speak with them about the issues that they're having in town. And I can tell you that redevelopment comes up a lot in those conversations in all the towns, because every town is kind of dealing with it right now. So it's good to get a second voice on how they feel in different towns about redevelopment. And that is my report. Councilman Cruz.
Oh,
You're right.
well, it would be Councilman DeWine and Councilman Brennan, not here. I have a brief report, Mayor. I attended the Zoning Board of Adjustments meeting where they voted on application BOA 24-05. That application was to build a new porch at a home, and it was approved. That'll go for my report, Mayor.
Wow, nice report.
Oh, it's quick and easy tonight.
Councilwoman Kent.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to congratulate Greg and Song on their retirement. I personally missed that chicken salad sandwich and the soft ice cream very badly. I went all the time. And they also did an amazing job for the women's club. They always made our chicken salad for our events and the ice cream cups for our senior picnics. So I'm hoping maybe we can still keep the same arrangement, but they were outstanding, and I want to thank them and wish them all the best. I also want to thank our Eagle Scout, Chris. Chris, 20 years ago, this town made a conscious effort to preserve that land. We worked with the county, Passaic, we worked with Morris County, and we worked with the state of New Jersey, Green Acres, Blue Acres, and we saved that land for just your type of project. And I want to thank you because our future generations already recognize the need to have open space and to have walkways and to enjoy those areas. And I want to thank you very much. So looking forward to being at the project, and I will promise to make you a donation to help you pay for the supply. So you can either see me or I'll send you a check, whatever. So I want to thank you. I attended the Open Space Committee meeting a few weeks ago, and we decided that we were going to dedicate October as the Open Space Month in Pompton Lake. So what we decided to do, we were going to meet with Administrator Corelli, hopefully early next week. Michael will set a date and time what works for you. And we're going to get all the costs and various projects that are proposed over a 5-year period. We're going to try to lock them down a little bit because it's time that we finalize some of these projects. And I'm looking forward to this coming meeting. The Pompton Lake Volunteer Fire Department, they're having an open house on Monday, October 14th from 6 to 8. There's no charge for this event. The fire safety trailer and other handouts will be given out to the families and the children. Sparky the fire dog will be there. And you should have received something like this in the mail. It's a postcard about the open house. There is also the fund drive this month, or anytime you want to give a donation. And you can make a donation to the department via Venmo, PayPal, checks, in any which way that makes sense, and it'll make it out to the Pompton Lake Volunteer Fire Department. I was asked by a number of people to start giving police report updates. So I spoke with our chief, and we decided these are the most important topics that we should be discussing. I can't talk about cases, I can't talk about individuals or arrests or anything like that, but I can give you kind of just very statistics on this. So the first thing I'm going to say is caught, arrested, okay? And they were the car thieves in the act of stealing a vehicle. So not only were they stealing the vehicle when they were arrested, they got the car that they stole the night before. So we give our police department a heads up and a kudos for an amazing job that they did, good work by the detectives and the entire police department. We had 30 motor vehicle accidents. We had 247 summonses. Our domestic violence investigations were 13. Calls for service to date is 2,368. Our detective bureau had 15 complaints. There were 0 subpoenas and 0 warrants issued. There were 16 background investigation for guns permit and 2 carry permits, 20 background checks for military and police agencies, and 5 raffle and 1 bingo background applications were done. Okay? I attended the personnel finance meeting. We signed the bills, worked with the administrator Corelli on improving the vehicle log sheets for when they submit for reimbursement, and we'll be discussing that in the future. I attended the Stop the Atlantic Shore project meeting in Long Beach Island, and that was a follow-up to the resolution to stop the industrial turbine projects until further marine mammals and offshore studies are completed. And I'm very grateful that the borough here signed the resolution that went to the governor's office and the state legislature and state assembly and senate. The Chamber of Commerce is having their monthly meeting on Tuesday, October 8th, At 7 o'clock, Tony's Pizza. We're having a special meal prepared by Tony's. And any of the businesses or anybody else who is interested in the business district is more than welcome to attend. The Chamber of Commerce is also sponsoring the 25th Annual Classic Car Show, which is Sunday, October 13th. The rain date is Sunday, October 20th. And the signs are already up on Wanacue Avenue. It's a great event. We have 54 trophies for 18 categories for cars, trucks, hot rods, vintage motorcycles, and classic trucks. 50s and 60s oldies music will also be played, and I believe the mayor and council give out the trophies. And the Shade Tree Commission, it now has a new form for the private trees on your property if they have to come down. So if you have a tree in front of your house that's on borough property, you have the shade tree application. That hasn't changed. The only thing that has changed is the application for private tree removal permit. And that is a separate permit, and that is not through the Shade Tree Commission. That will be through the borough. I want to thank Liz and Michael for all the hard work that they did and working with the Shade Tree Commission. And that is my report.
Thank you, and hearing you give the police reports reminds me of Councilman Begg when he used to.
I know, and everybody.
And I appreciate the fact that you're giving us that.
Everybody told me they miss his reports. I said, okay. We'll see.
I forgot to mention in my report, we are looking for 2 health department members. You do have to have a little background in health or a nurse or involved somehow with that. It's a smaller board. It only meets once every other month, so it meets 6 times a year. But it's a very important board. It looks at our restaurants. It looks at all our places downtown that serve food. So we're looking for 2 members there. Councilwoman Gilbert.
I attended an EPC meeting, and we discussed having a table at the holiday stroll with flyers and pamphlets on recycling and litter. I attended the library board meeting, and there seemed to be a large uptick in the amount of books being checked out over the summer months, which is nice to hear. It's nice to see that people are reading more. I attended a public works meeting, and I'd like to say congratulations to Mickey Gavin on becoming the new landscape, building, and grounds supervisor. And that's my report.
And if you want to talk about that a little bit, what that means, we added a new supervisor to just be in charge of parks and our open land and landscaping. It's something that we feel very important about to keep up on our parks and our especially our ballparks too. So we have someone dedicated now to keep track of what's going on in all those parks, which I think will be a great service to this town as we move forward. Councilwoman Paldori.
Thank you. I also want to thank Greg and Song for many years of service to our community and devotion to our community and our youth activities and our committees with everything that they did in their years in the ice cream station. Both of my children were regulars there at lunchtime, and they did an amazing job while here. I know that they are enjoying their retirement. I had a chance to talk to them a little bit, so I wish them the best in this next chapter of their lives. And I wish the new owners the best of luck as well. Hopefully they can keep the tradition that they brought to us of being such an important part of the community going. I also want to thank our Eagle Scout for devoting his time and efforts with his project to our community. We appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing the good work that you do. Thank you. I also had a DPW meeting with Dan and Mickey. Congratulations to Mickey. We spent about an hour this week going over a few things, one of them being specifically the segmenting of roles within the DPW and the tasks that Mickey would be taking on with the landscaping crew, particularly as it pertains to our sport organizations. There's a lot of requests that seem to be not following a schedule of maintenance on some of the properties that have been a little hard to keep up with. So through the meeting, we had decided it would be best to sit down and write a memo to which we could communicate to the sport organizations exactly what the DPW will be able to facilitate and what that scheduling would look like, how requests can be made, something that can be communicated to all 3 organizations across the different fields. So I'm working with the borough administrator and both Dan and Mickey now to finish the language on that, and we hope to be able to communicate that to the sport organizations shortly. And then the other thing that was brought up, I wasn't able to attend open space, but I did have a few members reach out to me with some questions about some things that were discussed. So One of them actually came up in the DPW meeting I had with Dan in regards to running a water line to the dog park and installing a cement pad. So I don't know if you remember this, but the reason that we started the program for the banners and signs was that the dog park could become a self-funding place in our community so that it wouldn't be a draw on funds that were being used through open space, because there were some members of open space that felt they don't all have dogs, they don't all use the dog park, it's not fair to use tax money for something that doesn't benefit anyone. So the solution to that was to sell the sponsorship programs, which did well. So I'm not sure what the request was, Michael, maybe you can shed some light on that. We're not using open space funds to make any upgrades to the dog park at this time.
No, so we would set up a supplemental appropriation in the 2025 municipal budget based on the revenue that we received from the sponsorships, and that would fund the whatever improvements we'd like to do to the dog park.
Okay, so there was some concern about that, so I just wanted to
But
clear
however,
that up.
we are looking for a price from the Utilities Authority so we can plan accordingly in the budget.
Okay, perfect. Then the other thing, there were two other things that came up. One, I saw an email going back and forth about the playground equipment. So historically, and I feel like this is stalling this, I think at some point we should make a decision and move on. We've gone through this, we've looked at the drawings, we've done the pricing. Normally, we would go through open space to make the decision as to what the price would be and what the size and scope of the project would be. The agreement would be made that they would fund it, and then we would work with the vendor to choose the equipment and make the decision and move forward. So I'm thinking at this point we can go ahead with what's been shown to us and start working on that project. You know, open space meets once a month. If there's an issue with a quorum, that pushes it out another month. We're waiting for a vote that has already been agreed upon in the previous year. Can we just pick the playground equipment and move ahead now?
Yes, we're going to meet yourself, Maria, and the mayor to talk about all of our pending projects, as Councilwoman Kent said. So we're going to make a decision and then we'll move forward.
You have that. We talked earlier in the year about a 5-year look ahead and breakdown of funds. I think you did a rough draft of it.
Yeah, I do have the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we'll be reviewing.
Yeah, and a path forward.
Okay. So, a few members of the community got together to hold a private fundraiser to raise funds specifically for the VFW, for funds that would be earmarked for the flag program, which is supposed to start next Memorial Day. If you remember, we agreed to allow the VFW to move forward with the first 13 flags for the first year for the Pompton Lakes members that were killed in action. So I am following up with them next week. At some point, Michael, I think we need to revisit this with Dan. I think we discovered that the bracketing for the signs, the banners that we've chosen don't fit the existing. I need to figure out what we're going to do to move this forward so that we can have them printed and the signage can get done and I don't want to have the signs come in and find out that they can't be hung on the existing poles. So is that going to be an additional cost? Do you know what we came up with there?
I know that the current size is 18 by 36 inches. However, for 13 flags, I don't foresee an issue with having to potentially purchase different size brackets. But I do believe that the brackets can extend, so I'll have to check with the DPW on that.
So it's 13 for the first year, but then the following year.
Well, right.
it'll
We'll
be
have to
opened
talk
up.
about that. So let me find out. I'll get back to you.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to try and meet with them and the vendor that's going to facilitate it next week. So if I know at least going into that conversation what we're looking at, that would be helpful.
Perfect.
And that is my report.
Okay, thank you. Borough Attorney, any report?
No report this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Administrator?
Thank you, Mayor. So as you know, the borough's full-time violations clerk, Jackie Sanchez, has resigned. She's taking another opportunity in connection with her college and career aspirations. So we are hiring a violations clerk for the municipal court. We also are hiring one more DPW laborer and seasonal laborers heading into the fall and winter seasons. So that's posted on the borough website if anyone's interested. We are promoting it on social media as well.
So why don't you mention what a seasonal employee, just for the public's sake?
Thank you. So a seasonal laborer would assist in snow plowing, leaf cleanup of our parks. So we desperately are looking for some candidates. It is a part-time role. I'm excited to announce that we've received a grant from the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities to conduct a community energy plan. Community energy plan establishes sustainable energy initiatives such as improved local air quality, energy savings, and infrastructure upgrades to all of our public facilities. So we are looking forward to getting that plan completed. So more to come on that. Budget packets have been mailed out to all the department heads. The submission deadline is November 1st, and then the Finance Committee will convene shortly thereafter to start reviewing for the 2025 municipal budget. Cost estimates are pending from the borough engineer for the resurfacing of Dawes Highway, Maple Ave, Watervliet Ave, and Albany Ave, following our discussion on the sidewalk assessments. So I do foresee some contracting taking place with the governing body in October to move ahead with these projects. And we are working on our final list of resurfacing candidates for 2025. So we'll discuss that at a future meeting. I would like to note that I am working with the bid. We are monitoring the garbage situation. There seems to have been an uptick of late, and we are issuing notices of violations currently. So people are seemingly cleaning up after we do that. So it seems to be working accordingly. And then the last thing is, tonight the governing body executed a memorandum of agreement with the Pompton Lakes PBA to facilitate the difference card program. So I just wanted to highlight that all of our unions have agreed to the program. And just to highlight to the public that this is estimated with full participation in this new insurance program to save the borough approximately $1 million over the next 5 years.
Which is a big deal.
So we're very much appreciative of the governing body and of the unions to get that rolled out, and we're looking forward to starting that program. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
And just to bring for the public's attention, that the unions did not lose anything in this deal. They actually gained a little something from us. So they keep the same insurance they had, the same programs they have. Everything's exactly the same, except we're going to pick up the cost through this card of their copay. So they'll no longer have to make a co-payment for their usage. So it's a win for them. It's a win for us. And it's a great program. And I got to thank Michael. You really worked hard on getting that done. So I thank you for that. One of the things, I was talking to some representatives in Wayne. You know, one of my pet peeves is we pave a road and then Jersey Central, PSE&G comes in and digs up the road. I guess Wayne somehow worked out a deal where they're covering 70% coverage when they have to, when that happens, that Jersey Central or PSE&G has to come back and repave 70% of the width of the road. I would love to look into that, and maybe we can reach out to Wayne to see what they did over there, because, you know, I know, for example, Lincoln Avenue was just paved about a month and a half ago. If PSE&G comes in and calls it an emergency, they're allowed to dig it up. I had residents call me and said the road hasn't even been down a week and they've already dug it up. You know, it's just not nice to see when you have a nice road like that. So anything we can do to push back to make that happen, I would appreciate.
Thank you. That would be an ordinance. I have seen it in other municipalities, so I will pull a sample and we'll discuss it further.
Good. Any questions for the administrator? No? Okay. Workshop, what do you got, Mike?
I'm going to defer to Councilwoman Polidori and/or the borough attorney to facilitate questions or...
I have nothing.
Okay. Yep.
Yes, so I called for the workshop specifically to cover two things. One, just to reiterate that the purpose and intent for workshop is for this council to have a time in the meeting to openly discuss things that are coming down that we will have to eventually vote on, to have a chance to talk without violating quorum, to review information that we need in order to make decisions on a future vote. Is the purpose of workshop supposed to be for us to be voting during that time? So, and the second part of my request for workshop is going to be to discuss the protocol around voting. The last meeting was completely inappropriate. And I think we need to figure out how we got there and how that happened and what needs to be put in place. You know, we had a discussion in workshop where we voted on keeping an ordinance as is, upon your advice and guidance, to not charge the fees, to cherry pick which nonprofits would or would not be subject to fees. We agreed to it. In my opinion, at that point, the motion that came 20 minutes later by way of another councilperson's report probably should have been removed because it was a complete contradiction to what we had just voted on. Whether or not we even should have voted in workshop is one of my questions. But then to lead into the part with voting, now we're discussing this motion, which one councilperson took personal offense to. I sat here and watched one councilperson berated during her vote, right? The time for discussion was over. She was talked over and changed her mind at one point, which I voted. And at that point, this councilperson pulled himself out of view of the camera and away from the microphone and this goes on all the time at meetings. I finally had enough and chose to say something back, but what you don't hear is those comments are made all the time. I actually formally requested that his seat be moved, to which it was not acknowledged, and we'll talk about that too. But we are all in full view of our microphones and the camera, so one of us shouldn't be allowed to pull themselves aside and make comments, which actually I filed a police report because one of them was a threat of violence, which probably should have been addressed when I called attention to the fact that a threat of violence was made. But I'm voting. We are here to discuss things in a civil and adult manner. We are not here to take it personal. We are not here to take offense to the things that personally affect us. I sit up here with no family that works for this borough, with no friends that sit on boards or commitments, with no business in this town, or no financial interest to gain or personal interest to gain with anything that I vote on. So when one council person has a personal reason to have something go a certain way and then attacks other council people because they disagree with them, another council person voted in agreement with me and nothing was said. So are we supposed to be talking over each other like that when a vote is being taken? I don't understand how that was even allowed to go on.
So I'll answer that if you don't mind. No, we're not supposed to be talking over each other. It's my job to make sure one person talks at one time. But I can only I was looking at this area when something was going on here. We have to have respect for each other to not talk when somebody else is talking. So at the end of the day, it's up to us to make that happen, that we don't talk over each other at the same time. I can't see everything, and I definitely don't hear everything, especially on the ends of what's going on, so I can't address anything that was said. But at the end of the day, in my eyes, we have a resolution or an ordinance written one way. If we need to change that, which I think we do, and we're in discussion about doing that, then we should. But a motion should stand as it's written. And I know we talked about, and that was part of the discussion, can we make an exception for this one group? My vote was no, we can't do that because this is the way it's written. But I guess that's where the conversation started to get a little array and people talking over each other. So, and it was at your advice, by the way, that we could do it one by one, but it wasn't recommended to do that, if I'm correct. Is that
That's correct. I'd rather not get on that slippery
right,
slope.
in that slippery slope, and I agree with you.
Yeah, and in the spirit of not wanting to interrupt you, before this gets taken into another path, which, and I appreciate your remarks and that you're recapping what happened, right? But that wasn't my question. I am asking the attorney specifically to interpret the protocol of voting. Are we voting during workshop like that? When we vote, are we supposed to be speaking over each other? And I'm not looking for, I understand, my opinion obviously is that whole entire thing was completely inappropriate, and I'm sure you're agreeing with me, but I want to know your interpretation of what we're supposed to be doing up here, because as the mayor does preside over the meeting, it's we look to our attorney to make sure that we are actually following the law the way that we're supposed to. And I'm thinking that a lot of things in that last meeting were probably not what the way they should have been.
Well, there's no law on what happens in workshop. I was not up here when workshop was adopted. That was at a January 10 meeting before my appointment. I did look at the notes. It doesn't speak to it, but I can tell you that in other municipalities, some municipalities do a workshop meeting separately from the regular meeting.
Which is typically a not voting meeting.
Correct. Which is not to say that you can't straw poll things, which is what I took what happened in the workshop last time to be a straw poll. Are you in favor of this? Are you against it? As far as talking over each other, no, the mayor is absolutely correct, and the bylaws address that directly. That should not be happening. You should all have enough respect for one another that you should direct your comments, first of all, to the mayor, not to one another. So all that's very clear in the bylaws. So does that answer?
It
your
does,
question?
and so then I'm gonna look to you for help with this, because this has been the precedent that's been set up here. I mean, you yourself have interrupted me and accused me of having hissy fits and made plenty of comments that, you know, by any standard would be deemed completely inappropriate. And it sets a precedent that the tone is okay at that point for Councilman Bennon to lean back off of microphone and camera and on more than one meeting to say things under his breath to me. So if we can't control the situation, then I did formally ask that his seat be moved to a place where he can remain on camera. This wasn't just a back and forth exchange of, I don't like you, I don't like what you said. This man threatened to choke me out. And you ushered us along like you were scolding kindergarten children. Whether you agree or say it has or has not been proven, I know what I heard. I know what was said. I made a moment at that meeting to stop and turn and say, I was just threatened. We need to do something. Whether you believe it happened or not, this is a safe place. This is a place where we come to govern our community and have conversations in a place where I should feel that I'm not being threatened or in harm in any way. And this is not the first interaction I've had with this councilman that I've brought to the attention of a policeman in passing. Hey, you know, this probably shouldn't have happened. The behavior is out of control, and every time something happens, it seems to escalate. I don't want to feel like I'm being threatened while I'm sitting up here. I work entirely too hard for this town to not ask for anything personal in return, other than I should at least feel safe when I'm sitting in my chair up here.
Okay. First of all, I take offense to the comment that I talk over you. You talk over me constantly. It's been proven on tapes many times. I can pull the tapes and show you that. As you're doing right now. Okay? So there's an example of you doing it right now. Okay? So I gave you the chance to speak. Now it's my chance to speak. Okay? So that you just won my argument for me. Okay? On top of that, whatever happened, and the police did an investigation, and for the same reason, you can't come accusing him because you heard something the way you heard it, and I don't know if it was said, I don't know if it was said or it wasn't said, but the police investigated and said, we can't hear it either. So at that point, it's a done deal, unless you take it further, which you're more than welcome to do, and someone else figures it out that something was said, then we'll listen to that. But at this point, the police has said, we've listened to it, we can't hear anything, you've made the statement that that was said, witnesses who were close to him said, we didn't hear that. I can only go by what I've told.
That's not true.
Okay, well, that's what I can tell you. Okay, speaking over each other, I think we're all in agreement we shouldn't do that, correct? Yes. We should try to work on that. I think the attorney hit it. Everything has to be funneled through me and the conversation. So when you're talking to somebody, it should be funneled through me. And then I'll give you the opportunity to respond. I'll give you the opportunity to talk. We should try not to talk to each other unless it's in a workshop forum that we're going back and forth. And I did take that as a straw poll, by the way. I agree with you. And the reason we do those straw polls is so then Michael can take that information and put together a resolution or an ordinance to work to the next meeting. So we do need some type of idea of what the council is thinking. We can't just leave it open-ended and nothing get done with that. So it was taken as a straw poll. I didn't agree, like I said, with how it was done. We wrote an ordinance for a reason. I didn't agree when we wrote the ordinance. The ordinance is what it is. Okay, we have to change it. That's how government works. We don't change it just because somebody's screaming at one time to change it. But it got heated and it got out of control, and then that can't happen again. So that's where I am with this, unless you want to add anything else to that?
There has been a few times in meetings where both Councilman Cruz and Councilman DeLine, who sit past you, have made remarks to Councilman Bennon that he needs to stop speaking or stop saying things that he's saying because they can hear derogatory comments under his breath from over there. And you've allowed it to go on for a very long time. Now, for the third time, I have asked that you move his seat in a place where he can be heard and seen during these meetings.
His seat is where everyone sits in front of a microphone.
And all of us have to
again, you're
say
interrupting
on
me.
view. You allow him to pull. We are having a conversation.
And I was
You just need to
talking.
bully over me and be right all the time.
No, and I was talking. His seat is just like every other seat. It's on the camera in front of a microphone. If he sits back off his seat, that's not up to me to tell him to sit forward. Putting him in this seat is not going to change that. He could still sit back off the seat.
No, he sits all the way off the end so that you can't see him. If
I
he
can
leans
see him
back
on the
against
camera.
wall there, you can see him on camera?
I
Then you
saw him
must
on
have a-
camera.
then you
I
must
saw,
have a
we
different
can
film.
see it on camera. I didn't have anyone tell me we can't see him on camera.
Well, then we'll replay it and you can see that you can't see him
So I
on
can't,
camera.
and we're all caught every once in a while sitting back and not talking into a microphone. That does happen.
Mike, if you sit back, you're still on the camera. If you lean over the side, you're not on the camera. Perhaps you
So-
don't understand.
All right, so you're saying right now, if I go to the tape, we can't see him?
That is what I'm saying.
Okay, so we will look at that, and we'll talk about it at the next meeting. And if we can see him, then that would not be a correct statement.
Okay.
Which camera view are we talking about?
There's only one.
Well, there's the one that's right above as well. So are we talking about that one, that one right there? Is that the camera right there? Is that a security
No,
camera?
it's only this one.
So you only have that one there, so there's no close-up view to anything?
No,
that's
there's no
going on?
close-up of any of us up there, right?
Okay, so it's that one right
It's
there?
that one that goes from wall to wall.
Okay.
So that's what we have. It's just the one camera. Okay, any other questions?
Are you suggesting that the cameras be in a different position?
No, it'd be very unlikely that you can't see him with that view that he has.
Can or can't?
That you cannot see him. Given the view of that camera and the placement of that camera right now, it covers the entire board.
He moves into a place where you can't see.
I would be shocked if he can't see, because the angle of that camera is gonna go this way. I mean, again, I've seen enough of the council videos to see, you would be able to see him. You'd be able to see him. If it was a situation where, assuming that was a camera and there was an angled view, I could see him moving back and being out of view of that camera, but that isn't a camera. I'd be very surprised if that one there, you can't see him. Again, Mayor, I leave it up to you. Obviously, that's your protocol to view the previous council meetings to see if you can see him. But even then, I'd be a little surprised, just because where the placement of that camera is right now.
And it's made to get the whole day, so that's what it's made to do. Okay, any other questions?
Did we resolve anything? Or are we going to at least have better decorum moving forward? Or
I think we just talked about, no one should be talking over each other, and that everything needs to be funneled through myself.
So the time for discussion, do we delineate when the time for discussion is, when the time for voting is, when we're voting, we're not continuing to discuss?
What is the question there?
Well, I mean, we
don't know
addressed
where
my
you're going
issue,
there.
but at one point, when Councilman Kent was voting, she changed her vote because a whole entire conversation took place after she voted, and then she changed her mind.
I ask you not to speak for me, please.
It happened on the video, I'm not speaking for you.
Don't
but
speak for me and my thoughts.
Are we allowed to talk to each other like that in the middle of a vote?
It's a straw poll, so it doesn't carry any
Well, that was
weight
during the vote for the motion.
for the motion for
That
what?
was during the vote for the motion to
Waive the fee?
waive the
Waive
fee.
the fee.
I mean, that's not a straw poll, that was.
No, that was a
A
vote.
roll call.
Again, I don't know what was said, and I'll let Councilwoman Kent respond if she wants to respond to that.
I'll just say that was a fairly atypical, there was a lot of confusion up
Yes.
here concerning what had happened earlier, how it affected this, whether this was a Board of Education matter, or whether it was not a Board of Education matter as it was initially introduced. So there was a need for some further explanation to just clarify some things. And I don't think the fact that there was some further explanation during the vote was inappropriate, because I think there was genuine confusion up here. But typically, you would have, in an instance like that, you would have something moved, seconded, then it would come up for discussion, because that's what Robert's Rules of Orders would normally call for. Would call for it to be the normal practice. Move, second, discussion, and then the vote. So you would hope that the discussion would take place prior to the vote.
Okay.
Does that answer it?
Okay, we all good?
And
Okay,
the bylaws actually make me the parliamentarian up here, so
Well, that was why I was asking you,
I appreciate that.
because it seemed like we lost control of that, and at what point do you then step in and?
Yeah, there was certainly a fracas, but the fact that there was some discussion during the vote, I didn't think that was such a breach of protocol, because as I said, I think there was some genuine confusion up here, so I just.
Could we have asked to have that pulled after we had that vote and workshop?
You could have, yeah, you could have moved to table that motion.
That's probably what we should have done.
Well, in all defense, even just to point this out, even with that night, the issue at hand was what the Girl Scouts were paying on a regular basis throughout a year for activities that they were going to host at one of our parks in town. That based on the hourly rate and the number of people attending, it increased, and they were paying an enormous amount of money. So obviously, Mrs. Vennon was here that night during public comment, upset, and rightly so. And I think even with coming up with the initial ordinance when we were first discussing the pricing, I'll be honest with you, I did not realize they were going to be there with well over, 40, 50 people at one time, where now the hourly rate jumps from 45 to 60. Okay, so when you have the Girl Scouts coming in here and they're paying $700 for a park event, and I think that's where the issue. It wasn't so much whether or not confusion in the ordinance and all this, because it's very black and white. It's very simple to read. It's whether or not understanding that they're having events, which I don't know they're having events of that magnitude. But now that I understand that they are, should they be paying $700? That was the concern. And that was more personal decisions above everybody. Because we all felt bad about what was going on and how much they were paying. So the ordinance is very clear. It's whether or not now when we do meet to discuss how we're going to move forward now, for non-for-profits, they're going to be holding events in town and how we're going to address that. So not to disagree with you, I didn't find it confusing at all. I found it that we had mixed emotions, some personal interest involved in the conversation that led to certain emotions getting a little bit out of control. So I was not confused. I didn't understand to the extent of what they were paying. Okay, and it was a lot. It was a lot of money. So I just wanted to point that out, that I don't think that it was so much that between, the ordinance and we're talking about the workshop and going back and forth, and I'm not talking about the voting, the straw voting or anything like that. I think that it just got out of control for no apparent reason other than we all voted differently.
And I agree in the fact that when we did this ordinance 2 years ago, and then someone's actually showing us how we're using it, and you take the numbers into consideration and the hours, and it becomes a large number. Maybe that's something we overlooked when we did the ordinance, and it has to be addressed.
I was not aware of that.
Right, so, and I think that was a good example of why we have to address it. But saying that, we did have an ordinance in place, so that's how I feel.
We did ask
Correct.
earlier in the meeting when we were talking about the straw poll, I remember specifically saying, we're going back and forth a lot, what is the absolute maximum that one of our nonprofits, specifically one of our nonprofits, would have to pay? And the answer was $45, which was what led into my voting, because I thought, look, we're arguing over $45. So I was also misinformed, and that's important. Another thing that seems to happen, and another resident spoke about it in open public session at the last meeting, we're voting on things, and sometimes, we're being asked to make decisions, and we're going back and forth, and we get rushed through the questions, and okay, that's enough. But the sidewalk thing, we are not being given all of the information that we need sometimes to vote on things. And I thought that was the purpose and intent of workshop, that we're going to sit here and you're going to talk about a sidewalk project, and I'm going to have everything in front of me that I need to read, size and scope, approximate cost per house, everything that I was trying to ask while we were sitting here. And then a resident got up and said, how can you even vote on something you weren't even given the information you asked for? And he was right. So I would like to work on that too. Before something comes here and is put in front of us and we are asked to make a decision on it, all of the information should be here.
But that goes both ways. So example, and I'm not disagreeing with the conversation tonight, but when I spoke to the administrator about the workshop, I said we all have to be prepared of what has to be discussed, and no one had any information on what was going to be discussed, and all he could tell me was, you had something you wanted to talk about. That information has to be passed on to the administrator, because he can then give it out to us, so we come in educated to know what's being talked about. You know what you're talking about, we don't.
And I understand that, but you're comparing my wanting to have a discussion about something that happened that we're not making a decision on to information that we need to vote on that's actually spending taxpayer dollars. I get it, fine, that's fine, but you're just trying to make a comparison. That I'm telling you that you're putting things in front of us that have a financial impact on the town for long periods of time, and when I make a decision on that, I want to have all of the information in front of me. Not,
I agree.
Hey, I'm not happy with the way that last conversation.
No, I agree.
Complete different comparison.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns?
All in agreement.
Okay. Can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comment?
Second.
Who was it? Councilwoman Polidori, Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Mr. Buck?
Paul Baldwin, 120 Romaine Ave. I stood before this council a while ago, and I have to repeat what I said with respect to a debate. if the League of Women Voters are the people who are going to be moderating the debate, I extremely caution everyone, because I question the fairness and the impartiality of that organization. I have a long history in this town, going back to when I ran for the Board of Education, and believe me, the way that open forum was conducted was a disgrace. I don't know if the same people that were there then are currently on the League of Women Voters now, but if they are, and if things haven't changed, I'm sorry, in my opinion, they have an agenda. I would caution you all for participating in any event that they are sponsoring.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? I think I saw him. Step up.
Dennis Kilberg, 158 Mountainside Drive. On the way here tonight, I saw a gentleman on an e-bike. He was coming at me head-on Cannonball Road. There was another car in the third lane also coming at me. I guess he panicked. He turns to go on the sidewalk and wipes out. So I don't know, he was going pretty fast. I had to get out, help him. He hurt himself a little bit, but got up, his bike was okay, and he left. I'm coming down Wanacue, e-bike on the sidewalk. He wasn't going that fast, but it seems like there's more and more of these e-bikes out here in Pompton Lakes. They're on the sidewalks, they're in the middle of the street, they're driving against traffic. Someone's gonna get killed eventually. Something bad's gonna happen. And, maybe there should be some sort of enforcement, maybe with the police department, maybe some kind of program. I know we have click it or ticket or this or that. Somebody's got to stop these e-bikes from driving on sidewalks, driving against traffic. They have to follow the same laws as motor vehicles. They actually, they should have helmets on. Someone's going to crack their head open, and there's kids under the age of 15 riding these scooters. That's against the law. You can't be under the age of 15 and ride a scooter. It states it in the law. So, someone needs to, maybe some kind of enforcement, and that's what I'm thinking, before somebody gets hurt, or somebody's property is damaged. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Councilman Cruz, Councilwoman Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Paul, thank you for your comments on League of Women Voters. Dennis, I agree with you 100%. I see them because I live by a cross bridge where a lot of people are using them to go across the bridge. They're flying, no helmets, young kids, some of them small little bikes, hard to see sometimes from the height. So I'm going to ask
I will.
Councilwoman Kent and Michael to actually reach out to the chief, and I like the idea of, we do these programs, maybe there is some type of program for e-bike stuff. There might be something out there that I'm not aware of. And maybe we kind of set up something, just to, really, it's informationally too. The whole helmet thing, I'm sure some of those little bikes that you can't see from outside your window are probably illegal. So it's something we should keep an eye on. Okay.
Mayor, is it the e-bikes and the scooters?
Well, anything that's moving that needs a
Either way,
helmet.
okay.
I would even throw bicycles in there, because I see people flying on bicycles in the middle of the night with no lights and no helmets, and it's not good. Mike, do we have a closed session? We do. Okay. Privilege of the floor. Does anybody have privilege of the floor?
Mayor, I just wanted to address Mr. Bowlby for just a minute. Mr. Bowlby, I'm a member of the League of Women Voters in Pompton Lakes. I'm one of the, I think there's 5 of us right now. I can assure you, I do not believe they're the same people that you had an issue. I don't know if they are or not, I don't know. But they're very nonpartisan right now. I can tell you that. And whatever the candidates decide, that is their decision. I don't have any input. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, motion to adjourn into closed session.
Motion.
Councilwoman Kilberg,
Second?
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you, everybody, for attending. In closed session, we discussed, what was that? Attorney-client privilege, or?
Yeah, attorney-client privilege.
Attorney-client privilege and negotiation. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councilman Cruz,
Second.
Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against, okay. So, yeah, I have a check for you.